Hi, Anti-Society. Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we're getting some more Bleach. Episode 247, I believe. I should know this. Yeah, 247. But I feel like we're going to be getting into some more serious stuff because we've had everyone go off into their own fights. We're pairing off into potential conflicts that are going to happen. However, I don't have eyes on some of the more big bads of this arc, and that does make me a little bit nervous. Granted, filler arc, so I'm not entirely stressed out the way that I would with a normal Bleach arc, but I feel like we're gearing up to some of the intensity of what we're gonna get. In 3, 2, 1, go. I'm very, very curious about how we're gonna wrap this up because I have questions. I've opened tabs on some things. I do give like a little bit of grace, I guess, because again, filler. So they don't have to exactly figure everything out. It would just be nice if we did. We do have the like mystery person though. In the hood. So I'm thinking like, is that either Rukia's Sanpakuto that's like gone, right, till further notice, or is there something else going on? Is it just a Sanpakuto we haven't met yet? That one. I'm just trying to think of like whose Zanpakuto it could be. There's so many characters. I'm like, who have we not accounted for? And it's also filler, so they might just like invent something. You know what I mean? There could be filler only characters. I'm like a little bit sad that because this is so like Soul Reaper centric, right? That there are just some characters I don't get to see as part of the team. Ichigo's kind of like on his own, but like obviously with Soul Society. You know, I tell him not to run headlong into something that is most definitely a trap and or danger, but like that's never worked in the past, so. He doesn't quite grow out of that, at least where I'm at in the story. He gets more skilled. Just doesn't quite outgrow a little bit of that impulse to just run into things. Case in point. Not quite. I mean, I would expect nothing less. Nope. It's a serious look. She's like, hey, I have places I need to be. Things I need to be doing. I don't know. He sounds a little bit like he's entertained. Whoa. Honestly, cool use of some reflections. But I'm like, I feel like he's playing around. That's the whole point, right? I love the single dad energy. Exactly. You telling me that's not a single dad? Uh-oh. We've made the right threat? What was the negotiation? I mean, yeah, you gotta seal the deal. Make an oath of the sacred pinky swear. Uh-oh. Yeah. They are trying to fight you. Already exhausted. Meanwhile, Kampati having a great time. You know it's gonna be a good fighting montage when we get the rock music coming in. I do feel bad for these two. Like I just kind of want to give them head pats and tell them they're being you do a good job. Yeah. Almost as if they aren't trying. Your distraction, maybe? Keep him busy? Yeah, he's like, not gonna like that. You have to show up with everything you have with Kenpachi, or he's going to take offense. Okay. So at least we know where one of the big bads is. Love the like reflection on their eyes. For that. I don't know about fate. Oh, well, I guess Ichigo and I are on the same page with that one. It's like, fate, I don't know. You didn't even know he was part of this. Cool framing. I'm having some fun with the camera work in this episode, which makes me happy. I feel like a lot of these filler episodes, I can tell the budget isn't there for it. And I like that they're kind of making do with little things in this one. You know, they're also keeping you busy away from Ichigo. I love how Shinsuye just always sounds amused. I love how quickly he was like, I know exactly what you're doing. upset and disappointed. Ooh, I like how we attack towards the water. Different perspective. Ooh, speaking of. Mm-hmm. Yeah, time. What what's the time metric that we're dealing with? Because I feel like this is a distraction too. I was like, maybe it's to keep them away from Ichigo. But like, where's Byakuya? Oh, I like that we're getting Ceres with the mask comes out. I like they were seeing a little bit more effort. Because they weren't actually trying to attack before. And now it's like you could see a little bit more of the skill and like teamwork coming through. Mm-hmm. Buying time. For what though? Yeah, I'm like, did we need the hollow for something? Is there something about pushing him to do that? And like wanting him to attack with everything? Are we gonna like redirect it at the barrier, maybe? No, the barriers were. I don't know. Something. I feel like it's something to do with the hollow power. Oof. I just look. He looks vaguely worried. And it's just like I'm not here for some kind of greater purpose. I'm just here to fight people. We in business now. Ooh, dang. She really is that girl, isn't she? It's got to be the hollow, right? Because he was using, wasn't he using some of the power in the forest with the hollows? Is that what it is? Is he gonna try and take the power from Ichigo? Because it's more powerful than what he's used to? Right, with like the other hollows that he was, I don't know, draining? This is very dramatic. Remember what I said about not like just rushing headlong into things? It was a cool tracking shot to like Munamasa's eyes. I'm assuming we're taking the power. You know, yeah, like I'm assuming to deal with that. Ooh, I don't like that. That's the facial expression we're getting. It's a little Mad King for my liking. I'm sure nobody noticed that. Casually just walking through into all of this as well. Like, imagine how skilled you have to be. Just be like, it's probably fine. Oh dear. Yeah. Did we manage to awaken his Zanpakuto though? Similar vibes. Mm. I guess there's that too. It's like if you can get into his head, there's probably a lot going on there. I was wondering why we were kind of like in a sleep. I'm like, is it just to concentrate? Right, because I did happen after. So what is in Yamamoto's head that we needed? What information did we need? I mean, he's a Zanpakuto, right? So Soul Society. Oh yeah, he used you. The casualness of like, yeah. I mean, his whole thing is like kind of like illusions, right? It's interesting too, though, that like they don't just disappear from their physical forms. How do we get them back into being like just weapons? Is his? I was gonna say, did we get to his Zanpakuto? Ooh, wild. Yeah, I'm definitely getting some Mad King vibes, and I don't love that for us, generally. Oh, well, someone definitely noticed that. That definitely got some attention from somebody. Surely. We just like take. I'm like, where's, because I keep waiting to be like, are we gonna see a physical form of the Zanpakuto, or do you just like take control of the ability? But whose Zanpakuto? That's my question. Well, I mean, we knew that. We were like, that's the mission, is we stop him. I'm very stressed out that he has control over Yamamoto's Zanpakuto. Remember, like, previous episodes where I was like, I understand why we have to have certain Zanpakuto, like, taken care of earlier on in the story because they're too powerful and we can't really deal with them being rogue. This is one of the ones we can't deal with being rogue, so I'm a little bit concerned about how that's gonna all turn out for us, you know, during this arc. How do we go up against that? You know? How do we deal with that? And maybe it's because I come from the future and I've seen some of the Thousand Year Blood War stuff that I'm like, I know what Yamamoto's Zanpakuto is capable of in spectacular fashion, that I'm just concerned. You know, like, to what extent are we capable of controlling that ability? Because there is like a certain resistance to some of it, right? Like there's, you can break the Zanpakuto out of the kind of like trance that they're in, right? So there might still be some fail safes from the Zanpakuto itself that's like, no, you're not gonna use me to do this and that. I mean, I feel like Parasite is like a kind of a good analogy though. My boy! I was gonna say, is that a Dragon Ball reference? You know what? That tracks, honestly. I love his I don't care. So I was kind of right. And then I'm like, I feel like we're gearing up to some things because we're pairing off, fighting some of these Zanpakuto. But I thought it was going to be we fight the underlings. And then some of them are like slightly more powerful, right? Because they're like the captains. And then we get to Byakuya to some extent. We're gonna have to deal with that issue. I don't know where he's at. Whoever is wearing the hood right now, that's a figure we gotta deal with. And I'm like, then we get to Munemasa, we gotta deal with that. But no, that was all just a distraction, a diversion, and we're gonna be doing some other things. And I'm just curious now. I'm like, is it just to have Yamamoto's Zanpakuto under his control? Or is there some other bit of information that he needed specifically to get into his head? I feel like there's either we need the power for something, but it makes more sense to me to say he's here for a specific piece of information, or there's something that Soul Society has that he needs for whatever. And I feel like it has to be because he's a Zanpakuto, and like, where's his Soul Reaper? What's the relationship there? Because he seems to be making other Zanpakuto like resentful towards their like Soul Reaper, which makes me feel like there's probably some projection happening here. So I'm assuming something happened between him and his Soul Reaper, and that's like the issue we're having. Maybe? I don't know, but I'm very intrigued. I feel like the fact that I'm invested enough to have questions, I mean, like, I want to know what we're doing, is at least eventually I got sucked into it. I do feel like I do still feel some of this is a filler arc, but not quite as much as I did at the beginning. I feel like at the beginning they were very specifically like slowing things down, and there was a lot of explaining stuff that was going on, but I was also taking that with a grain of salt because I'm like, how much of this do I actually have to pay attention to in terms of world building, because it's not all going to be canon. And I think that now that we're getting more into the story and I'm like more invested in just like this, even if I consider it just like a standalone story, and yes, I know that some of it is canon, but I like, at least within like this containment, you just get to be like, all right, in a OVA almost, right? Like a side story. What are we doing, and what's the dynamics, and how are we getting out of this particular situation? So I am interested to see where we go. I feel like Byakuya's got something planned. Like he's figured something out. He understands something that's going on. Maybe he even had some more information about what was going on with Yamamoto before we got to this point. He's got to be working on something because he's still like on our side later on. So I'm like, benefit of the doubt, there has to be some kind of plan, but I'm interested to see like how we bring all those pieces together and what we like learn about Munemasa as like a character, and like, why are we here? What are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish? Because it clearly isn't let's free all of the Zanpakuto, right? Like it isn't really about that rebellion part. Interested to see where we go with that as we go through the latter end of this arc. But I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go to my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to miss next time I post a Bleach reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.